Boom, we're online. Hello, everybody. I'm Adam Real. I'm in a house somewhere in Nottingham, in England, and here's 90 minutes of words on the internet with me and my good friend Dr. Tony Rosati, all the way in Buffalo, New York. How are you today, sir?
Good evening from the suburbs of the Nickel City for all those outside of the United States
Why do they call it the Nickel City?
because of the Buffalo Nickel.
Oh, okay,
Are you
cool.
okay? I don't know if you're familiar over there with the original Buffalo Nickel. So
Well, you can share
yeah,
that with our wonderful audience.
it's just named after the nickel. So we're also called the Queen City,
Cool.
believe it or not, too, because I guess New York City would be the King City. I have no idea actually, so I'm sorry.
Maybe
Our
they
home,
have like a really big drag scene or something.
actually, it's funny. I'm going to a concert on Friday night at a local music venue that's upstairs from our drag club.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, I have been
Experiencing
outside of this
all the
place.
culture. Nice.
Yes, all the culture. Yeah.
All right, whilst discussing culture, let's discuss face punching. UFC 208 coming up this Saturday. Um, in terms of we talked about this on the New Year podcast, like the big events coming up. 208 was the first pay per view on the horizon that not many people were that keen for, but now it's here. I'm really excited. These are really good fights on it. We've got Jacare on there. We've got Anderson Silva on there. We've got a new title debuting on there, something of historical merit. I'm very excited about this card. One point before we go into the main event, because the main event is a really, really good fight, but it's the inaugural featherweight title. Do you think it's devalued because of the absence of one Cyborg Santos?
Unfortunately, I do, because they made the division specifically for her, and then it comes up about she gets busted for another drug violation. This time not for steroids, but for a diuretic.
Mm-hmm.
And she's chronicled it online, her weight cutting issues and everything like that, how she was like really a catastrophe. And again, how many times do we have to preach this, like how dangerous it is, and especially when you're putting drugs in your body which aren't used for something like this, which essentially could have killed her. These are prescription medications which are used for usually people with hypertension. So she's doing it to drain all the water out of her body. The problem is, not only are you draining the water, you're draining your electrolytes. Without refueling those, that could stop your heart. So, that's the cloud hanging over, the specter of Cyborg. And it was, and a lot of people here, anyway, in the States and in media, if you see everything else, they're really saying, okay, this is like almost an interim title fight because the winner of this is probably going to get Cyborg and then lose it anyway. So, it's a kind of a discredit to these two ladies who are fighting, who are high-level strikers, which we'll get into. And it's kind of a shame. You have, on one hand, Holly Holm, who's trying to become a two-division champion, to add to everyone else that, this is becoming the trend now lately of two-division champions, which is quite an accomplishment, for an unheralded, beautiful kickboxer and Muay Thai fighter in Germaine de Randamie. So, I feel bad for these girls more than anything, because I think that shadow of Cyborg is looming. Now, will Cyborg get that title shot depending on what happens? There's talk of the Invicta champion as well, perhaps going against the winner of this too. And then you have also Nunez.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, just like Dana White said, pump the brakes on that one, So yes, I do. It sucks because it's another division, and I mean, you also have these interim belts, but thank God it's not a freaking interim belt, because I'm sure I'm sure
the debut title being an interim belt.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's what happens if Cyborg does come back and she beats one of these women, and then she's supposed to defend the title, and then she gets popped and she'll probably get stripped of the title. But say something happens. I could see another interim title, But so, yeah, unfortunately.
Well, they're all hypotheticals for now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked multiple times about how much I'm disgusted at the treatment Cyborg Santos receives from the UFC and a lot of facets of the US media. She made that division. She has been that division for this entire time. It is her legacy. And when she got her foot in the door in the UFC, she used that opportunity to speak for all featherweights. She wanted to import her division over there, so she deserves a lot of credit for the featherweight division existing in the UFC in the first place. So, yeah, from a historical perspective, you feel that she deserves this spot Sad about the drug violation, though. But it's not too much of a marker, though, because we have Germaine de Randamie versus Holm, which is a sick fight. You said you were rewatching some tape just before we got on air, and it changed your mind. So which way are you swinging?
I'm swinging de Randamie.
Ooh.
So I like her via decision. I shall explain.
Okay.
The one thing, so if you look at the Shevchenko-Holly Holm fight, I don't want to discuss the fight with Miesha Tate nor the one with Rousey. I'm just going to focus on Shevchenko for right now. Shevchenko was a decidedly smaller opponent for Holly Holm. The one similarity that Shevchenko has with de Randamie is a Muay Thai style fighter. Now, I expect de Randamie to come out with the same stance. I'm big on stances. I said this with Shevchenko against Pena. That would have been the difference with it. I don't know if that was a difference with it. I think just Shevchenko's a beast. So as I was watching this fight, what I've noticed, and some of the research I've been doing, I've been reading some of the columns on the fighters and everything like that. And the one thing about Holly Holm, for a great technical, like a great boxing champion she is, she's not as technical as you would think. She kind of leans heavily on her left hand. Her left hand, and it's usually, she sets up kicks. And the one thing that her bread and butter is she thrives when somebody aggressively pursues her. And she usually catches somebody. Ronda Rousey, an example. Rousey was chasing her all over the place. Holly Holm got out of the way. She caught her with some punches. And the next thing you know, she caught her with a leg kick right to the neck. And she was out. Now, the other similarity between Shevchenko and de Randamie is they're both pretty patient. I don't think de Randamie is going to recklessly go in at her where she could get caught. I think she's going to set the pace just like Shevchenko did. Now, Shevchenko's notorious for doing that, and what she did was, and if you watch it, the first 2 minutes of that fight, she's sizing her up. She's sitting there, she's being, she'll throw a couple counters. She got caught once in the early rounds, and she got dropped. Didn't look like it hurt her much, but she just got caught flush. Holm doesn't really have much striking power when when she catches you with a counter, you're going to go down, and it's going to be tough. But she doesn't throw anything with it. Her footwork is good, but it's not one of the best. The one thing with de Randamie, now de Randamie here is not one of the most heralded fighters. We don't see her much. A lot of people don't know much about her. The one thing about her is she's very good striker, and she has no problem striking. The bad thing about her, Randamie gets defeated by a lot of people if it's somebody unlike Holly Holm. This is a perfect matchup for her. Holly Holm loves to strike. Shevchenko took her down 4 out of 4 times. Holly Holm did not take her down once. Holly Holm likes to strike. Holly Holm's best chance to win this fight is to get de Randamie down. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a stand-up battle between two strikers, and it's going to be a classic example. I think the power behind it, the fact that there's no weight cutting involved for de Randamie, also has to be in consideration. Now, I don't think she's going to knock her out. Holly Holm has a great chin. She has great cardio. De Randamie, we don't know about her cardio. She hasn't been in a 5-round fight yet. You have to assume maybe from her background of kickboxing and Muay Thai that maybe she's gone other rounds, but we don't know about that yet. So that could come into favor. When the gas tank goes, the mind goes. It's the first thing that goes, and maybe she'll be reckless and she may get caught. I don't see it happening that way. I think she's going to get picked apart. I think the Muay Thai style stance is going to frustrate the shit out of Holly Holm. Holly Holm, for some reason, I don't want to say one-hit wonder, but I don't believe in her. Not to say that she's not one of the elite fighters. She's in the UFC. She beat Ronda Rousey, who arguably at the time was the best pound-for-pound women on the planet, the baddest woman on the planet. But Rousey was nuts in that fight. She got frustrated, and look what happened. Once you get frustrated, chances are you're going to go night-night. De Randamie is a bad woman. A lot of people have to. I think hopefully this fight on national television is going to show everybody that de Randamie is a bad woman when it comes to striker. I don't think that she's going to knock her out, though, just because of the chin of Holm. I don't know. It's weird. Being a boxing champion, you would expect better footwork and better hands, but she does rely, more her left hand, her left leg. She that she checks with the inside leg kicks a lot, but every time she was doing it, Shevchenko was countering beautifully, and
Yeah.
Shevchenko was darting in and out. Now, also, de Randamie's got a reach advantage on Holm. Shevchenko didn't. It didn't matter. So de Randamie could also take that 2-inch reach advantage into her favor and kind of set the distance and make sure it doesn't. So even if Holm tries to go inside, I don't think she's going to get. De Randamie's not terrible in the clinch either. So even if they get in the clinch,
No, not at all.
Yeah, so it could be all right. And Holm may be a little bit leery after getting taken down with ease. Every time she shot forward and applied pressure, we saw the trips that were employed by Shevchenko. Shevchenko, at that time, and still, I believe we have to agree, Shevchenko's weak part of her game is her ground game. But what we saw in Shevchenko's last fight against Pena was pretty damn impressive. So she's definitely working on it. But a raw Shevchenko, I was just amazed to watch it again and see the trips that she employed on her and taking Holm down with ease. Now, granted, Holm got up from a lot of them. I think the end of the fourth round, she kind of didn't. And like Shevchenko was just content to lay on her. But, as far as earlier, Holly Holm kind of got up easily. Well, this is a different beast now. de Randamie's naturally bigger, and she has the reach. So, now enough of me talking. I want to hear your thing. But yeah, de Randamie via decision.
I was expecting you to go all out on Holm here, and I'd have the plucky underdog pick. But yeah,
don't worry.
This one I found incredibly hard to call. You're definitely right about the Muay Thai. The front kick to the side that Holm uses to keep distance a lot. Muay Thai fighters are exceptional. That they're used to the teeps all the time and bashing them to the side. It's I don't think Holm's going to produce much that de Randamie hasn't seen before on the striking circuit. The big problem I found with Holm a lot of the time is she's so good fighting on the back foot, but she's not that great at closing distance and cornering people. Everybody who fights her is able to circle off quite well, usually. Of course, there are a few red flags picking with de Randamie. De Randamie hasn't been that active, considering. You can give a lot of factors to that. Obviously, the demand for women's fights isn't as much, so they won't get ones as frequently. But yeah, de Randamie's had some problems in those camps, and Holly Holm, her last few camps have been for Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate, and Valentina Shevchenko. They are some pretty intense camps to go through. You're training for 5-round title fights and one number one contenders fight main event. The fight IQ you're going to develop over there must be pretty fucking high, especially at a place like Jackson Winklejohn. I've got a feeling de Randamie can pull off the upset. The one thing I'm really, really curious about, like as you mentioned, was the clinch game. The clinch game and how this will play out, because the Muay Thai clinch of Germaine de Randamie is very, very impressive. If she's able to work that on Holm, I think she could get a TKO, especially considering the size difference and the Dutch fighters as well. The Dutch, I don't know if you ever held pads with some of those. Their knees and their low kicks are just something else. They've got an extra level of hurt in them. They really, really know how to hurt people with their knees, the Dutch. So, yeah, I'd be really, really curious to see how the clinch game plays out in this. Do I want to pick de Randamie, though?
You just want to go against me, I think.
Oh, the cardio factor, though. We don't know about de Randamie's cardio, and we know Holly Holm's cardios can hold up over 5 rounds very solidly. One interesting thing, though, is in the media recently, de Randamie has constantly been emphasizing the fact, when people have asked about it being a striking fight, talked about her level of mixed martial arts, and how MMA-wise, she's a complete MMA fighter. This isn't kickboxer versus Muay Thai, this is MMA versus MMA. So the grappling game could come into effect. If someone does shoot for a takedown, who do you think it is? Holly Holm or Germaine de Randamie?
Holly Holm.
I disagree, actually. I think Germaine de Randamie, with this kind of talk and the kind of coaches she has around her as well, they've got an underrated grappling pedigree over in Holland as well. And the style with the lead leg, that can be open to some singles maybe, and you saw how Holly Holm on her back against Miesha Tate. I think it was the second round. That was a clear 10-8 for Miesha Tate because Holly Holm had nothing. She had nothing off her back. So if de Randamie feels confident in her ground game, is able to take her down, has a solid plan for it, Spending a good amount of time in top position could really, really win her rounds. I don't know. It could be something that plays out. It's a very interesting fight. Let's see how the gamblers have it. The gamblers have. Oh, okay, shit. We aren't even the plucky underdog pickers because Germaine de Randamie is the favourite, -125. I did not expect that.
Yeah,
See,
it's plus
105,
130, right, for Holm? Close to that?
Plus 105 I've got here. I'm using
105.
bestfightodds.com. Yeah. But, oh yeah, shit, I didn't realise that. It's weird. Holly Holm was absolute on top of the world very, very recently. And now we're looking at 3 straight losses.
Plus, she's got the name. Usually that dictates the betting lines as well, too. So, you know, it's, I mean, a lot of people that are, you know, casual people that are going to throw some money on this fight even, too, they're going to see that, you know, unfortunately, I mean, your top gamblers and everything are, you know, that's what they do for a living. They research, but, I mean, think about it. If you ask 10 people on the street who Holly Holm is versus Germaine de Randamie, I mean, you know?
Yeah, true. But the people, I think with betting odds, especially now, MMA odds have got a lot smarter, a lot quicker. I think since Conor McGregor and the interest has expanded quite a bit, a lot more betting companies are dedicating staff to it. So with this, I would say a lot of the pro gamblers are getting on Germaine de Randamie. That seems to make sense to me. Because they thought, like, oh, probably was an inviting underdog pick earlier, I didn't follow the line. But yeah, that's probably why she's moved into this position. Ah, that's interesting. See, I would have thought she'd be the underdog pick. But anyway,
I think she was. At one time, I believe she was.
Yeah, then that would make sense. If she started off as the underdog pick, then it would have made sense. A lot of people got on the line and skewed it, so she's now a favourite. Sparking a tradition of this on this card of big names coming in as the underdog. Anderson Silva in the co-main event, one of the greatest of all time, one of the best fighters to ever live, one of the greatest artists in the UFC. You'd have to say he's one of the people that you could say that for. Like after there was something really special. You remember that era around UFC 126, UFC 134, when he beat Chael the second time. There was just something fucking magic about this guy. Like when you watched an Anderson Silva fight, you were constantly like blown away. But in this fight, he comes in plus 24121. I butchered that. Holy shit! All right, try that again. Plus 120 underdog to minus 140 for Derek Brunson. Okay, who do you take in this fight and why?
I'm going to let you go first.
Oh, okay, I'll go first.
I'm going to let you go first just because.
Okay, I'm taking Derek Brunson in this.
Okay.
I think he knocks Anderson Silva out. Anderson Silva's still very impressive, and you can in no way count a guy like that out. But I'm very, very impressed with Derek Brunson. He had the loss to Whittaker, but Whittaker is a very, very solid guy, and he made very clear strategic mistakes in that fight. He knows what he did wrong. Angling off and just sort of chasing for the knockout and circling around with him and leaving himself vulnerable to that head kick. He knows how that went wrong, and I think he's dealing with it in the correct way. You saw him in an interview earlier, like he was asked if he watched the fight, and he said he tried to but had to turn it off. He was just so disgusted with himself and getting stuff wrong, which is a very, very healthy attitude, to be honest, when it comes to fighters and amending mistakes. I think Derek Brunson is a real prospect in this division. Anderson Silva, like I said, he's not won properly since, 2012. Well, no, it's Stephan Bonner, 2013, UFC 153. Yeah, that was the last time he won, because Nick Diaz, obviously, like the Nick Diaz fight got overturned. I made this point, he's not won in a while. This isn't the Spider anymore. This is Anderson Silva. He's slow, he doesn't have... And now he's slowed down, he can't use the same head movement. He's crafty, but I don't know. I don't think he has any of the qualities that made him what he was anymore. And definitely not enough to face up to a guy like Brunson. The left hand on Brunson just finds its target very, very easily. He's a smart guy, knows how to set it up. Would have watched Silva for a very long time. And Silva's attitude recently, the way he trolls the media, the way he talks up, I don't know how serious he is anymore. Do you get that impression as well with Silva, that he's just not serious?
He's bizarre. He always has been when it comes to... You don't know if he's serious. You don't know if... You don't know. I mean, especially with the language barrier and everything, it's kind of difficult to gauge him. He's always been one of those kind of guys. Is he taking his fight serious too? I think Luke Thomas did an interview with him too that I read, that he doesn't know. He goes, I have no idea what to expect. He goes, I don't know if, pretty much he goes, I don't know if he's going to get knocked out or he's going to, beat into vintage form the way he's acting. So.
Yeah.
But.
Sorry, just making sure this is on charge so it doesn't go off. And we're all good. Cool. Yeah, I think Anderson Silva is weird. He gives off mixed signals all the time. He trolls the media all the time. And there's the constant conspiracy theory that he speaks amazing English, but shuts up around any media.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Everybody around it has said that. Everybody around it has.
It's funny. The whole... I was one of those people, I was at the fight, the first Weidman fight, where... And then I'm sitting there going, this has got to be a joke. Like, is this some kind of, fixed fight? Because the reason I'm saying, and I know it wasn't, but the reason I said this is initially the shock of it. And I'm sitting there at the arena, and he's talking in English. And I'm like, this is scripted. Everything's scripted. How the hell is he talking in English? He's always talking in Portuguese. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Kayfabe.
So I'm like, what the hell is going on? So, yeah, I hear you on that one. So.
Yeah. He Anderson Silva, he does bring moments, though. There is something incredibly special about a night that Anderson Silva fights on. It's always memorable. It's always something historical. I don't know. I don't know where he would go if he pulls off with it. Do you think this is bad booking? Do you think they should have made this fight? Because, I don't know, sacrificing Silva, who you could get a few good fights out of still, a few good money fights out, to a contender like Brunson, who could easily wreck him. And if Anderson Silva wrecks Brunson, then, well, you've wrecked a good contender in Brunson. Well, not wrecked, but it puts him down the pecking order quite a bit. I don't know. Do you like this matchup? Or?
I mean, it's almost like, could you argue that you could swap this with another event, another fight on this event? Do you swap Brunson with Bosch?
Ooh, I was thinking swapping Brunson with Jack. Oh no, Jacare and Silva wouldn't fight, would they?
Yeah. What about Jacare and Brunson versus Bosch against Silva?
That would be horrible to Bosch. He would get murdered.
Yeah, I know he would, but you know what I mean? Like, if you want to preserve this legend, is what I'm saying.
I guess so. I guess so, because, I think when booking, you've got to distinguish between people who are quite definitively post-title, as in, as a guy like Tim Boach, he's not going to get a run in him to the belt, because he's at the tail end of his career, and his interests have switched to, all right, I'm going to try and get big fights, I'm going to try and get a few good wins to cap off my legacy with and make some more money to retire on, which is very perfectly admirable cause. So, but Brunson is pre-title. Yeah.
Well, wouldn't you agree that Bosch had a better shot against Silva than he does Jacare?
Yeah, I do, big time.
So,
actually,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, all right, okay, yeah, it's a savage match for Boach as well. Jacare.
We know where our fight's going to be going for
Jacare.
Jacare.
We might. Oh wait, I didn't give a final pick for De Randamie.
No.
Okay, I'm going to take De Randamie by TKO in second round.
Second, oh nice.
Yeah, second round. I think clinch. I'm going bold on it. I'm thinking the clinch strike. The clinch game turns out to be more impressive than we find out. All right, cool. Anderson Silva, Derek Brunson. I'm going to conclude it. Derek Brunson, TKO second.
Okay.
What do you think?
Here's what I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you devil's advocate a little bit for both between myself.
All right.
It's the heart and the head arguing back and forth. The smart man would say Derek Brunson is going to beat him. And Derek Brunson probably will beat him. And I think Brunson's going to use his wrestling more. I think he's going to take him down. Silva has been, we saw it with Chael Sonnen did it for 4.5 rounds. I mean, and that was when Silva was in his prime. So Derek Brunson is a beast when it comes to wrestling. His biggest mistake, and it happened with Whitaker, he gets a little bit too aggressive. When he's aggressive, he leans forward, chin's out there. I don't think he's going to be... Now, I shouldn't say I don't think he's going to do that, because my prediction is going to change all that. So, my head is saying Brunson knockout first round. My heart is saying Silva knockout round 3. Ooh. I'm going to go with Silva on my bold prediction of the night. Pretty stupid, probably. Some reason I see a I don't know. It's a vision. It's a feeling I have. I love Anderson Silva. Mm-hmm. I love the guy. In fact, I was gonna. The first fighter I ever met.
That is so cool.
The first fighter I ever met when I was in Vegas, and I'll tell a quick little story. I was playing in a poker tournament in Vegas. It was my first. I was there for Rashad Rampage. What a friggin' terrible first fight, but that's where I fell in love with Bisping, by the way, too. So, as the co-main event. I was in a poker tournament, and I got word that Silva was signing autographs and doing a meet and greet at the mall, at the Vegas Mall, and it was very low profile and all that stuff. Now, we were there for the expo and all that stuff, but before the expo, I ended up busting out of the poker tournament a little bit early, and my buddy was in it, and he was kind of pissed, but I'm like, oh, that's fine. I'm like, you're in the poker tournament, let's, he ended up busting out. 2 hours later, he still didn't make the money, and he missed Silva. So talk about a double shot to the nuts. So he was on. Now, what I did was I ended up, finding the mall after walking around for a while, got to this place in the mall, and it was some, memorabilia shop, and there was probably about 50 people only in line, which is nothing. If anybody's been to Vegas and at these expos, you're waiting. I mean, Christ, I waited for GSP for 3-4 hours, and that was even had to buy a $30 shirt just to stand in VIP line. And I still waited 3.5 hours to meet GSP.
Worth it, GSP.
So, but he's, so I got to meet Anderson Silva, and he was cool as hell. And I think it's just because it's the first fighter that I met. Sat, took pictures, broken English, all that stuff. And, he was a good dude. So for me, it's more nostalgia, and I want to see that Matrix shit. And I could see it. I could see Brunson making a mistake. I could see Brunson rounds 1 and 2. I could see him peppering him. I could see Silva kind of doing his thing. I could see Brunson taking him down, laying on him, doing enough damage, but not enough to put him away. I think Brunson's going to get frustrated. I don't know why. He's going to get frustrated in the third round. He's going to get aggressive. He's going to tag Silva with a couple things, and he's just going to do it one too many times. He's going to leave his head. See some Matrix, Forrest Griffin shit, and Silva's going to catch him with the left. And Brunson's going to be out. That's my bold prediction for the night. I'll tell you that right now. Ooh. I do not think. I mean, it's tough because I could see it. Trust me, 95% of myself knows that Brunson's going to win, but it's a feeling. That's my only reason behind it, and that's the only way I see it happening. Silva doesn't have what he used to have. He has little grains of salt of everything. He's still, to me, he's the GOAT. He always will be. He's precision from top to bottom. One of the most amazing practitioners we've seen. He still has that in him. Fortunately, age has caught up to him. I think also psyche has been damaged ever since the first Weidman fight. And then the second one with the unfortunate leg kick.
Yeah, that would fuck with anybody.
Yeah, so, I mean, and he's obviously been brutal. I mean, the Bisping fight, he almost had Bisping, but he didn't. So, unfortunately, it's on his way out. I still predicted, and I predicted on our preview show for 2017, I still see the super fight, GSP and Silva at the end of this year. And he actually, in the interview, he wants that fight. He came out and said he wants GSP. I think that would be a fun way to end it. Even if he loses or if he wins, I think you send him off with one more fight with GSP, and that's it.
That would be a hell of a way to conclude a career.
I mean, why not? Now we gotta, GSP's got to come back. He's got to be on the terms and all that stuff. And that's neither here nor now right now. The contract, and GSP also thinks he can be a contender, which maybe he can. We don't know. We haven't seen him in a while, and who knows. But I'm going to officially make my pick. I'm going to officially say third round TKO by the Spider. And I don't mean the Spider, Kendall Grove. I mean the Spider, Anderson Silva. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. Brunson's got massive power, and he's a great wrestler. And those two combinations for anybody is bad. And especially with an aging Anderson Silva. And that's obviously the smart pick to go with. I am surprised that the line is a little bit closer than it is. I don't know about you. I would think this line would be a little bit more drastic, like a minus 300 or 400 for Brunson. Because, I mean,
well, I think it's Anderson Silva, though. A lot of people are very hesitant to pick against him.
Right, but with your argument you just said about Holly Holm and de Randamie, the professional gamblers put their money on de Randamie. And the thing is, look at recent stats. I mean, his last 5 fights, 4 losses and 1 no contest. He hasn't been himself, and since that last fight against Stephan Bonner. And I mean, let's be honest, Stephan Bonner's only in the Hall of Fame because of that one fight against Forrest Griffin. Otherwise, Stephan Bonner is an average fighter. You could argue his best fight ever was the Ultimate. Well, no, his best fight ever was the Ultimate Fighter finale. I mean, for the age. So that's what surprises me a little bit about this line. I'm surprised it's not even not even minus 200, right?
I can sort of see it. I mean, a lot of gamblers, though, they have a philosophy of never betting against legends. Like people who've got that ability, that X factor to turn things around in a moment. Like I definitely wouldn't stake anything on this, to be honest. Like I'm pretty confident in Derek Brunson, but Anderson Silva is Anderson Silva. And he's a very, very competent, a very, very polished, a very intelligent, a very smart, a very educated striker. So somebody who, like Brunson, who's made a mistake recently that caused him to get knocked out, the probability of him making a similar type of mistake that Anderson Silva recognises and responds to quickly enough to capitalise on, that probability is high. So I can see why it's close for that reason.
I mean, you look at it too. I mean, they're both... Yeah. Their reach is identical. You can't take that. They're both southpaws. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's Silva. And I mean, if I were to throw some money on it, I would throw it on Silva just because you can make some money off of it if it does happen. I mean, it's not that. But think about it. If it's low risk, low reward, I'm not saying go throw, $1,000 or whatever quid or whatever the hell you guys call it out there. Whatever. So, $1 billion quid.
Pound sterling.
Yeah, 50 pounds and 40 quid. I have no idea what that means. I'm going to look it up. I don't need another thing, but I'm going to figure it out.
Quid equals pound. Quid is slang for pound. It's like bucks.
Wait, what? What's equals pound?
Quid. It basically means pound. It's
quid is pound?
How you say bucks instead of dollars?
Yeah.
Yeah, we say quid instead of pounds sometimes.
So how come sometimes you say like 40? Oh, you interchange them. You say like 40 pounds. Or
like you'd say $40 or $40. 40 pounds is the proper one. Well, pound sterling, and 40 quid is like you'd say $40.
Everybody in the United States of America, Adam Real, at your pleasure for the currency.
Hashtag the more you know.
There you go. Just like Buffalo Nickel.
Exactly. We're getting some good cultural ambassadorship going on here.
There you go.
Bringing the world together.
That's right. One great equator.
All right. Let's move on to the next fight down on this card. Ronaldo Jacare Souza versus Tim Boetsch. This betting line is quite long. Minus 525 favourite for Jacare. And plus 415 for Tim Boetsch. I agree with the betting line here. I think this is going to be a quick job of Jacare taking down and submitting Tim Boetsch in the first round. Do you agree?
100%. I think Jacare, if there's one person that's more motivated than him and pissed off, it's Jacare. He wants that title. He's going to prove. I mean, you got to say he's next in line. The winner of Romero Bismane's got to be Jacare.
100%.
I mean, the thing is, but he's going to make it known. And poor Tim Boetsch has absolutely no chance. I'm sorry. I see it first round too. Jacare is amazing. I think Jacare still will be he will be the champion. He will be the middleweight champion in my belief. I think he's going to beat Bisping. I still say Bisping's going to win. I think he's going to beat Bisping. I think he'll be the title holder. Jacare is going to he's amazing. Another guy I love to watch. The alligator. There's a reason he's a friggin' alligator. That dude, he's like an alligator. He's going to grab you and roll you up, and it's next thing you know, you're in a choke. And it's done. So I think he's definitely pissed. He's pissed off. He's even said it. But he's got to fight. And the layout, this is perfect for him because now he's going to get a fight under his belt. Somebody that's not as dangerous as Tim Bosch that he's going to take care of. I'd be worried if it was somebody else, like even like a healthy Rockhold or even like a Weidman. I think he would still beat both of them, but I would be a little bit worried about ring rust. Although, is there such a thing with ring rust with the Korean Zombie now? That's another debate. So, but yeah, Jacare is a man on a mission. He's going to be dangerous, and it's going to be quick. So I can't wait to see him. It's been a long time coming for me to watch him again. He's fun to watch, and I'm just that whole Romero fight too kind of still sits with him, So
yeah, that would piss me off too. It's a shame we didn't get the fight with Rockhold because that really would have answered a lot of questions about Jacare and just how good he is.
And it makes, it makes for an interesting case if by the time, say he does, everything plays out and he wins the title, it will make the case for it. See what happens with Rockhold. If Rockhold could get a win or two in that time, it would make a case for a Rockhold-Jacare fight in the future, which would be fun. I don't think Weidman is going. That's a whole other thing. That division is a mess. It's in a different way. Every division is a mess to some extent. Not so much as heavyweight's a mess just because of who the hell's going to fight, but this division is a mess because of suspensions and then injuries and who's a contender and who's not, who wants to fight who, and you have former legends, and it's just a catastrophe. And then people moving down and moving up. It'll be interesting. This is going to be an interesting year for this division. And it's kind of exciting because you have some really good – it's an enigma, this division. Is it really that strong, or is it just a facade? On the surface, it looks like it's a great division. If you look at all these fighters that are in there, but Chris Weidman has shown his vulnerabilities now. Luke Rockhold has shown his vulnerabilities and his injuries. Jacare, we think he's that good. Your champion is a guy that's been plagued by, is he really that good? I love him personally. He finally proved that he could be champion. But let's see what happens with the Romero. And then you're going to have a champion possibly in the division that, either way, you're going to have a champion that people may not believe in with Bisping or a cheat. Stoolgate, steroids. So that's going to be the news. That's what I should have said is going to be the news story for this year. Is this division. It's going to be very dynamic, very fun. Another note, too, the Buffalo thing, Mousasi's worried about not coming to America with this because he's Iranian-born. So stay tuned.
Dutch citizenship, though, isn't he?
What's that?
Dutch citizenship, though, isn't he?
I don't know. He doesn't think. But the problem is the judges have blocked it right now. I don't know if you know. They blocked Trump's. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. But I'm sitting there going, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, they've only announced like 5 fights, and the other 3 aren't very good so far. So it's kind of like, the main event's good, but I don't want to see Mousasi not in this.
Yeah, I'm a pretty hardcore Trump fan, but if that keeps Mousasi out of the country and from fighting, I might have to turn against. I would be. Yeah, well,
it's tough. Mousasi, and that's the thing. Now is again going in this division. I know we're getting off topic here, but I'm just kind of on a. I don't know. Like Mousasi is another interesting character. Once branded as that boring ass fighter, he's turned into kind of a beast. And you know what? He beats Weidman, which is a good possibility. The way Weidman's going. You got to talk about him in the mix now too. So it's very intriguing to see what'll happen. So who knows? But yeah, back to our regular card now. But yeah, I'm just excited for Buffalo.
Conclusion.
Guys.
Yeah. So you taking Jacare by submission?
Same as you. Submission first round.
Yeah. Tim Boach, I think possibly could have a chance against him in another time and place. But with Jacare this prepared, this focused, I don't think Boach has a chance to catch him. He has a very good record of getting people to be complacent and sort of look down on him and then catching them and like capitalizing on their complacency. He did that with Brad Tavares like expertly. Brad Tavares seemed to be taking him so lightly and then boom KO. And everybody remembers Tim Boach's highlight of his career is definitely UFC 144, knocking out Yushin Okami in the third round. One of the most brilliant comebacks ever. Tim Boach is one of those guys lots of people have talked about on. He's not the best fighter in the world. He's not absolute world class, but he's very, very, very good, and he's tough as fuck, and he's constantly dangerous. And in there, he truly does believe that he has a shot. He doesn't care about the odds. He doesn't care about a lot of perceptions in there. He does believe he has a shot, and he will swing for that chin. So, but he's going to get mauled. Let's face it. That's about as devil's advocate as I can get on this fight.
Sorry, Tim. Tim follows me on Twitter. By the way.
Does he?
Yeah. Nice. Sorry, Tim. So if you follow me or you're watching us, you're a nice guy and you're fun to watch. But
I really like him. I don't like the whole hunting thing, but
you're gonna get dragged into the lagoon. There's my cheesy reference of the day.
The what? Lagoon? Explain your reference, sir.
You don't know lagoon?
What's lagoon?
Like lagoon is like a pond, like a swamp,
I know what
swamp
is.
almost.
Yeah.
Like I just see like alligators lurking in the Florida swamps, so another fancy word, lagoon. So it's not like a swamp. It's not as dirty and like dark.
Yeah. Like sort of like
it's
on
more
the other days.
Crystal blue, like almost a big ass pond.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. We're learning more things.
Okay, that's cool. I was wondering if it was a reference to a film or something. Like
there is an old, I think, 80s film, Brooke Shields. You know Brooke Shields, right? You know the actress model. So. She was married to Andre Agassi, the tennis pro.
Oh, good for her.
Okay, so I think she still is actually. She was in this movie called The Blue Lagoon or something, or Return to the Blue. I don't know what the hell it was, and it was about children, but they weren't. I don't know if they were teenagers. It was her and a guy, and they're stranded on this blue lagoon thing or whatever. I don't know. I think they got naked or something. I don't know what the hell. I never watched it or something. I mean, I don't know how old she was, so it could be kind of creepy. But it was like it was a major motion picture. I've never seen it before, but that's a Blue Lagoon Paradise thing. I have no idea. So.
Okay, well, let's move on to the fight down from the next down on the card. Good words. Use work. Glover Teixeira takes on Jared Cannonier. Odds are 190 favourite for Teixeira, plus 165 for Cannonier. This is an interesting fight to me. Cannonier is a kind of cool prospect. At heavyweight, he was decent. He's got some decent power. He's got some pretty good top control. But we'll find out if he can take someone like Teixeira. He's the one with the whole Jehovah thing, isn't he? I'm trying to remember. Cool.
I think so.
Nice religious beliefs and stuff. Cool. Always good. Helps fighters a lot. I find fighters who are sort of like that kind of devoted religious are often pretty good.
Yoel Romero is.
Yeah. I mean, it's good for the mindset. I mean, if you believe that sort of universal entity is on your side and guiding you, yeah, that's probably pretty helpful. Okay, let's go to Teixeira. Teixeira's had a rough career recently because of that devastating knockout from Anthony Johnson. Holy shit. Now he needs to repair his status. I don't see him as a top contender in the division, but this is a good gatekeeper fight for Cannonier, who's an exciting contender in a division that, for fuck's sake, does need some contenders right now. Light heavyweight's probably the weakest division. I wouldn't say probably, it is the weakest division. Would you agree?
Even over heavyweight?
Yeah, I'd say over heavyweight.
Yeah, because you have somebody like Ngannou in heavyweight. You got, I mean, who knows what? Stipe. If
Well, you
Kane
got
gets
Stipe at
kind
the
of
top, you
healthy,
got Verdum, you got Kane, you got Junior Dos Santos, you got Ben Rothwell, you got Josh Barnett.
Josh Barnett.
Josh Barnett's great.
He is great, but he's not. Rothwell either. I'm still not a big fan of Rothwell. I don't know. I just...
Well, the problem with heavyweights is they all beat each other, so none of them look specifically good.
I mean, I think Ngannou, though, is going to be...
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be... I think he's going to be champ at some point.
It was impressive. No, that fight night was one of my worst nights on betting ever, I think. I got really stupid. I did. Say again?
You should have listened to me.
I should have. I really should have. That was so stupid. I just had a little like fanboy thing. I thought, ooh, Arlovsky, maybe he can do it. And very quickly, nope. All right, I'm never gonna pick with heart again.
See, it's funny because I'm kind of the same way, and like as far as my betting goes, because New York State is a cunty leftist state.
Authoritarianism.
And our governor's deplorable. Oh dear God, our governor of our state's awful.
Fucking Democrats.
Anyway, but because betting is kind of illegal, you can't really, sports betting. You have to go to either like the Indian casino, or you have to go up to Canada. You can't really bet in state. Same thing with like online poker. You can't do. You can't even. I mean, you can't even go to like the internet, like sportsbook.
Where the fuck are you living, Iran?
It's brutal. Like you know what I mean? Like, well, the whole thing is internet poker is the worst because it used to be a big thing, and you had all these kids that were 18 years old that couldn't get in casinos in Vegas, were dropping out of college, which was stupid, but they were making more money than they would in actual jobs. But then the United States decided to ban all internet poker, so all these kids were like, "Oh, we're screwed now." So a lot of them ended up buying houses in Canada, which is pretty funny, and like getting residences there at least to play from there. But now the United States has kind of let it be state run, so now we're gonna see the trickle effect. Hopefully, same thing with like kind of like MMA was, and then now with pot too, like how Colorado and then the other states are talking about it. Same thing, like Nevada it's legal, Pennsylvania I think is legal, New Jersey is legal, but New York of course isn't. For internet, and I love internet poker. That was one of my things that I was doing on the spare time. I was fun, but it sucks, and it's not that it's illegal. It's you can't finance it. So the banks and institutions and credit cards, it blocks it, so they can't do it. So you can't fund it. You can play for free, but who the hell wants to play for free? So same thing with betting. The whole betting thing. So for me, I do fantasy now. The fantasy sites and everything. New York even banned. Like, I don't know if you know what DraftKings is and FanDuel.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, so you banned those for a little while. And finally, a judge ruled it unconstitutional. They're games of chance. It's not games of chance, games of skill versus chance. And they said, okay, now that's legal. So fantasy, but I also play in some leagues. I talk on here from time to time. And my fanboyness is based on who I have. So, and I'm in 2 leagues, as you know. I'm in one where you draft a series of fighters, and it's based on how they do, like 12 fighters, and you get points on it. And the other one is a Champions League, the most champions you have. So, somebody like Ngannou, I have in the regular one. So, with him winning, that was huge for me. Just like, who else? I don't know. My whole team has been winning. And then I have Shevchenko in the other one, and I have De Randamie in another one. I have Jacare in another one. I've picked all these people. So it's like the same thing with the fanboy-ish. So, but I do not have Silva. So I didn't pick Silva because of that. I'm just a fanboy. All right, off topic, sorry.
No, that's what about, with the gambling thing, that's so weird. I don't understand the motivations in the US for one of those leftist states to criminalize it. Because I know in some of the traditional southern ones, maybe there's religious objection and those kind of lobbies are involved. But why? All it does is, if you criminalize it, all it does is finance organized crime. Because organized crime, especially across the US, made a shit ton out of sports gambling. It was one of their biggest industries outside of drugs, guns, prostitutes, all the other escapades.
I mean, is it really surprising? We're the last state to legalize mixed martial arts.
It's for a state that has politicians that call themselves progressive, you guys are regressive as fuck.
Yeah. Well, you gotta understand, the whole thing was with the mixed martial arts thing was other deep rooted issues with the culinary union and the Fertitas and stuff. So that that was what was holding that up. So, but what are you gonna do? But
Fair
Sheldon
enough.
Silver is in jail, so
Yay!
that's why they legalized them. So that's what you get, bastard.
Going to be a whole lot more people in jail after tonight. Jeff Sessions is getting confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of prosecutions are happening. You just wait. Nonsense beware! Evil fucking bastards. Going to get what's coming to them. But yeah, back to fighting. Teixeira Cannonier. That's what started this off. Well, Glover Teixeira is exceptional. His fighting in the pocket, his punches, his accuracy. I am questioning his commitment to MMA now because he set up his own gym. Now, when you set up your own gym, you set up your own business, there are so many stresses involved. And training full-time mixed martial arts is stress enough in itself. And you only have a certain amount of time in the day to improve and dedicate, and only so much of an amount of energy to expend in a day. So you're going to sacrifice more and more of that on your training and distribute it to stuff like business and coaching, and it's a big distraction. And he's not got as many people around him as you would need to maintain a world-class level. So I don't have much faith in his career trajectory. But Jared Cannonier, is he the one? He lost to Sean Jordan, I think, at heavyweight. So he can be clipped, but anybody can at that weight. I think he's got some good movement in him. I'm not sure if he can take show. This is one I'm going to actually... I will take... I don't know, I'm going to actually abstain from this. For the first time. No, fuck that. That's a pussy move. That's a pussy
okay. You
move.
can do it. I'm not going to judge.
No, I would hate myself.
Draw?
I'd be like, that would be a pussy move to abstain from a vote. Because I could even coin toss this. I'm really struggling with this. Maybe Cannonier. All right, I'll go with Cannonier. We're going to see an exciting new contender in the light heavyweight division take Teixeira by knockout. What do you reckon?
This is a tough one too. I've gone back and forth. I've gone back and forth right now even on it as I'm looking at a couple things. Teixeira is starting to slow down. How old is he? He's about 37? 30, is he a little?
Something like that.
Okay. Cannonier is definitely a prospect. Cannonier has an exceptional reach advantage, I believe, in this fight. He's got great footwork and great cardio from what I've, gathered on him.
Yeah, especially for that weight.
Yeah, so this stays on the feet. Cannonier's going to win, I believe. I think, though, I'm going to go with Teixeira. I think Teixeira is going to survive the flurry in the first round. I think somehow he's going to get inside. That's his chance. Teixeira is powerful by all means, but he does not want to stand and trade with Cannonier. Teixeira is not very comfortable doing a range fighting match. We saw it with Jones. So Teixeira needs to get inside him. Cannonier is not particularly decent as far as wrestling goes, and I think he's going to get taken down easily. I'm going to say Teixeira submission round 3. I think he's going to get him down, and I think his experience is going to take it. That being said, I could see it your way as well, too. I could see Cannonier clipping him, knocking him out, or just peppering him all fight and staying out of trouble, keeping him at bay. But I have a feeling Teixeira's got something left for him. I think he's got something to prove. He's been awful lately, and he hasn't been, and I think he still wants to be that contender. I don't think he is. I think he's going to be that gatekeeper now. I think he's going to be relegated to that. I do think he's going to beat him. I think Cannonier, it's a shame because Cannonier is a prospect, and what do we always say about those prospects that get pushed upper limits? I think actually this was Cannonier needing to fight somebody a little bit below Teixeira first and then get to him. But I think that the wrestling is a little bit raw with him, and his takedown defense is not very good. I think he's going to get exposed. He may panic a little bit on the ground, which is going to lead an opening, especially with Teixeira. Teixeira in close is a beast, and I think he's going to pepper him with some ground and pound. I think it's going to force him to kind of give up his back, and I could see a rear naked choke deciding it. So 3rd round submission for Glover Teixeira for me.
Yeah, I think the ground game differential is quite prominent in this fight, but if the striking is going to be as dominant and effective from Jared Cannonier as a lot of people are predicting, do you think we could see Teixeira going for those kind of panic takedowns, like an almost? I mean, it's probably disrespectful to compare it to Carla Esparza, Joanna and Jacek, or speculate around that. But when you've got someone who's got such power and is able to clip you, your striking shots down quite a bit. And if you know that okay, their only chance is the takedown, you are very prepared for it. So then you get that spot where you can just sprawl and shove them off because you know what's coming. They're not going to set it up and trip it. With Teixeira, I think he might get forced into a spot a bit like that, but is still going to be aggressive then. Because he's a tough guy and he's got a lot of pride in him and he's got power in his hands. So, and he's not afraid of getting clipped. But who knows, actually? Who knows? I mean, what that kind of knockout changes people. We've never seen Teixeira get knocked out like that before. That is a special kind of knockout where you're absolutely flattened. That must change a lot of things mentally for you. Especially in the situation he is in. Yeah, I think Cannonier, especially with the range as well, can keep him off, can keep him at bay. Will be able to land on Glover Teixeira. Yeah, even though he's the underdog, I'm taking Cannonier in this one by TKO. First one we disagree on. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, no, we disagreed on Silva.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I mean, but I could see this one. I could see both ways. You know what I mean? Like I could see that it's very difficult to pick this one. You know, I could see it very easily be Cannonier too. So, but again, I'm going to stick with Teixeira. I just think he has a little bit left. So.
Yep, fair enough. All right. Yeah, okay. The last one we'll go into deep on the card. Dustin Poirier versus Jim Miller. I really like lightweight Dustin Poirier. I think he's really good. It's a shame that he got capped off by Michael Johnson recently, because his run has been very impressive to me. ATT prospect. Well, it isn't that. He's not a prospect anymore. But yeah, ATT, rising contender. He is a minus 470 favourite in this to Jim Miller, the 375 underdog. Yeah, I see this as a basic one. I see Dustin Poirier dusting him off. Jim Miller's game as fuck, but he's quite past it. He's got a very experienced skill set. He's very tough. He can find holes in it, but yeah, I think he's going to get like punched in the face on the feet quite a bit and brought down, maybe submitted. But yeah, I'm going to go with TKO first round for Dustin Poirier. What about you, Dr. Tony?
I'm going to go decision by Poirier, and I think Poirier is going to dominate. I don't think he's going to finish him. I think Poirier is going to kind of play it a little bit safer than he should with Miller, but I think he's going to pepper him. I think he's going to take him down. But I mean, when he's down, you know, he's got to watch. Miller's pretty crafty on the ground. So, but Poirier looks, this move in weight classes has done wonders for him. And he's more powerful. He's more technical. He's going to be quicker than Miller. Miller's a fun guy to watch. Mm-hmm. Just a bad matchup for him. You know, Miller Lozon is something that is fun. You know, or you know, anybody like that. So, but this, I mean, it could be fun to watch. But I think Poirier is going to show his skill set big time in this one. I just think it's going to be a decision. It could very well get finished. I don't think Miller's going to get submitted though. I don't see that happening. I think if Poirier is going to win, I think he's going to knock him out, believe it or not. So,
yeah, that's fair enough.
So yeah, so that's. I mean, I do too. I don't think Miller has a shot in this. I don't see how he wins unless he catches him in something. You know what I mean? So and you know, some kind of triangle choke or something crazy. But that's not going to happen with Poirier.
No, I mean, maybe he clips him on the chin. Miller has hands.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most arbitrary observation of a fighter anyway. Any time ever. He has hands. So.
He has hands, yeah.
Well, Jim Miller, someone who's been around the sport as long as he has, will obviously be able to find a way to win. His submission game is exceptional. Poirier, there's been talks of him having a chin. I don't think it's fair to say that after the Michael Johnson fight, because that was a pretty good shot he got cracked with. The speculations on his chin, especially when he was at featherweight, were caught out by Conor McGregor quite early when he's talking about how he gets wobbled by like Akira Kurosani. He got wobbled, and obviously he exploited that in his fight. So How far do you see Dustin Poirier being able to go in the lightweight division? I was very excited about him, but the loss to McDonald obviously damaging. Um, what kind of level do you think he can reach?
I think he gets top 5. That's
Okay.
it. I don't think he's going to fight for a title. I think he'll get to a contenders fight, perhaps, and I don't think he gets past the top 4 guys in the division at all. So I don't know. I like him, and I think he's got a great skill set, but I just don't think he's among the elite of the elite in that division at all. He's got the power, but I think he's suspect. I think it's chin. I don't think he's quicker than these guys that are up at the top. So, and he's not as well rounded. I mean, he's rounded, but he's not as well rounded as some of these, beasts at the top of the division. So, yeah, I see top 5. I mean, which is great, but I don't think he won't get a title shot unless there's an interim shot, which we know is going to happen. So, and that
anything can happen.
Yeah, it could.
This ridiculous. Is MMA, but what a crazy sport we watch.
It is crazy.
Well, 209 actually. That's the event that everybody's really looking forward to, though. Or on the horizon, wouldn't you say that's the biggest event for you?
209?
Yeah.
Biggest event? I mean, as of right now, yeah. I mean, the biggest event for me is 210, but that's just because personal. But yeah, as far as implications, I mean, how could you go wrong with the main and the co-main event? You got Wonder Boy Woodley 2 as your main, and you got Ferguson and Nurmagomedov, which is finally happening for the interim belt, which is amazing. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a shame because a lot of people are looking past 208 to 209, and I mean with good reason. I mean, your co-main event in 208 is, no offense, but I mean Silva and Brunson is not exactly a co-main event worthy.
This does feel like a Fox card. I'm not gonna lie.
It does. I mean, you have some names. If you look down the card, I mean, continuing with this, I mean, there's some names and there's some fun fights. The problem is let's take out people like the two of us and people in the MMA community and people on the inside. You have some names on this card, but I mean, does anybody know anything about the flyweight fight? Wilson Heiss is amazing.
Oh, I do really like Yuta Sasaki though. Early,
yes,
very exciting.
You think he's gonna win? Let's just tell it real quick. Quick prediction on that one. Do you like Sasaki or do you like Heiss?
Oh, I like Heiss though. No, I think Sasaki's very exciting.
Right.
He's kind of one of those people that you watch early and you think, like, fuck, you're exciting. I really hope you're elite level so you can do that exciting stuff on the elite level. He failed a bit at bantamweight. Give it a good effort, but yeah, well, we'll see how it goes in this flyweight. Obviously, the odds makers have it very significantly in favour of Heiss. Heiss is a 650 favourite to plus 475 for Yuta Sasaki.
I mean, that's the thing about this though. You go to this. I mean, you're right. It's got a Fox feel to it, or a Fox Sport. I mean, you have a title fight, or I mean, you don't have what am I? Yeah, you have a title fight, but it's some like arguably we don't really know. A lot of people don't know about it. But outside of that, if people have heard of Silva, a lot of people haven't heard of Brunson. Now, I'm talking about the casual fan. Mm-hmm. And then you go down this card and you look at it, and it's like, okay, it doesn't have star power for that. Now, for us, we know these fighters. We've seen these fighters. We've, even the newcomers. I mean, Randy Brown, Bilal Muhammad, you got Heiss in there. I mean, you have Nick Lentz against Makchuk, whatever the hell his name is. I can't even say I can't pronounce it. But I mean, Uncle Creepy's coming back. What a poor set of circumstances for him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get beat, by the way.
So do I. I don't. Did you see his Periscope earlier?
No,
he did this Facebook Live thing. He's such a dick. I don't know. I don't like the guy. He had this. I seem to remember on Joe Rogan he was talking about like bullying kids at high school and something. Just came off like a prick. And he's always so whiny in interviews. Like when he was. There was this really funny thing. Do you remember when there was a rematch for him and Mighty Mouse after the first controversy, and there was an argument between us and when we worked for Extreme MMA, as in who was taking that. I switched to Demetrius Johnson heavily when I heard the interview of Ian McCall, because Ian McCall was so cocky, so confident, said, yeah, I already got him beat, and was just talking about, this guy, he was almost getting emotional, like, this guy, he's just playing Xbox, he's a nerd, really, nobody really likes him, he's all quiet, and like, ugh. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, you fucking child. And in just in this most kind of like whiny, annoying way. And I don't know, every time I see him, I just think he's a fucking brat. Maybe it's because he's tiny, like I view him in such a childish way, because he's such a short guy, but he just annoys the shit out of me. And like somebody on Periscope, like, Facebook live video, some live video thing where comments came up. Like somebody said something about his hair, like, who cut your hair, a blind man? And he said, like, no, actually it was my friend Lorenzo, and he's great, fuck you. And it was just like, why be so sensitive to weird comments on the internet? Like, it wasn't me who said it, by the way. Made fun of his hair. But, he's just got this weird, immature attitude. And I think people who have that, they're often really in denial of reality a lot of the time, and that's a very bad mindset to have in MMA. Because with MMA, you've got to be brutally fucking honest with yourself when you're training. Like, okay, this area, I'm not good enough. I can't just deny and think, yeah, that's fine. I've got to work on that, work hard on it, and get it up to scratch. So I doubt Ian McCall's maturity when it comes to that. He's at Camp Ohio. He's at like Team Oyama. Oyama, that's the one. He's at Team Oyama. Oyama's a good coach, so probably could keep him somewhat disciplined. But I find Ian McCall a disappointment. What are the odds have it in here? Ian McCall's not a underdog, but he's not a favourite either. -155 for Jared Brooks, -105 for Ian McCall. Basically a pick'em. A lot of people have it a pick'em. So yeah, you think Ian McCall's getting beaten in this one?
Yeah, I think so.
What makes you think that?
I don't know. Brooks, from what I'm reading on, he's very... he's good with his wrestling. That's his bread and butter. I think McCall's going to get over cocky. He's going to too over, like you said. He's kind of like that. He's been, in all the crap that he's gone through. He is cocky, but he's gone through so much issues as far as fights getting canceled and everything like that. So I think just him not being in the octagon is going to be some things. And I think Brooks has something to prove too. This is his debut in the UFC. So, it is short notice. But I don't know. I don't think McCall really, he doesn't do anything for me anymore. He had that fight against Mighty Mouse, and then he kind of fizzled,
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things, just reading on it a little bit. I don't know much about Brooks at all. McCall is just not a sexy pick. I don't know. Just not a good, you know what I mean? He's got the best mustache. He's got the best mustache in the game, but that's about it. So, but yeah, as far as I'm reading, it just, the wrestling, I guess, is on point for Brooks pretty well. He's got a good takedown defense, and he's pretty good as far as, achieving and completing his takedowns too. And while he's there, he's pretty active. So, and I believe there's a size. I believe Brooks has a size advantage on him too. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I think so.
Probably got a bit of a speed. So, yeah, interesting matchup. I've also got a great jiu-jitsu matchup on this card between Juan Carnero and Ryan LaFleur. Ryan LaFleur almost kind of like a Jake Shields type. It's so weird. Yeah, he was undefeated for a while, wasn't it? And then
he's only lost once.
Yeah, Damian Maia, wasn't it?
Yep. But he's been out for a while too, I believe. I believe LaFleur, over a year. Yeah, so the good thing about him though is he's very active for LaFleur. LaFleur is very, he throws some good kicks, and he's decent at striking as well too, to go with his wrestling game. So I think he's more of an athlete than Carnero. So who knows on that one? Quick pick for me would be LaFleur though. LaFleur would be a decision for me. Anyway, I think she's got a little bit more in the tank. So
I really like Juan Carnero. Like, I think his jiu-jitsu is very impressive. I don't know if you remember his performance against Mark Munoz. Like,
Mhm.
absolute destruction. But yeah, I agree with you, as do the odds makers. Ryan LaFleur is a 280 favourite and plus 240 underdog for Juan Carnero. Overall, it's good. It's a really good card, actually. When you look at it, there are
Yeah,
some gems in there. It'll be a fun night.
it is, and
Uh,
that's a thing. That's you look at that, and going back to should it be like, is it really a Fox card? Yeah, probably, but you and I could see it differently. We see it as this is fun, but when haven't we seen fun? You know what I mean? There's been cards that have been stinkers, that have been terrible, but sometimes it's not the fights you expect to be. I mean, look at the Canadian card. Look at the one I was at in UFC 206. It was not very glamorous on paper.
one of the
And
best nights of the year.
and look what absolutely, and that's what happens. And I mean, sometimes, and UFC 200 was arguably kind of paled in
Yeah.
comparison. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's all about perception and what and everything. I mean, who knows? For our sake, Woodley, the UFC 209 could be terrible. I don't see that happening at all with those two fights, but you never know. It could just be a brutal thing. But yeah, it's so tough to see. But there's talk. Might as well get into this now. They were talk about, is the UFC watered down? Are there too many events? I mean, they've gone up. The last 2 years, I think there was 46 events, and this year they're planning on 45 or 46, somewhere around there, and they have no intentions because it's a moneymaker. I mean, and that's the thing. But I mean, you could argue that these fights coming so frequently, is going to water everything down, and it's going to be kind of bullshit. There's enough fighters out there for me, and I love fights. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I love the fact that, I go crazy when there's not a fight a week. I mean, I tell you what, in about 2 months, I'm going to be at home all the time with my newborn baby, and I'm going to be up late with him. And damn it, he's going to be watching the fights with me. I'm going to, I'm sure mommy's not going to be. Well, mommy might be sleeping, but mommy might not. She's not a mixed martial arts person. She can't watch it. She thinks it's too violent. But my son will be exposed to it because of daddy's predisposition for violence and violent sports. So in between ice hockey and mixed martial arts, he's going to be already.
Excellent.
And the way that he's kicking already, who knows? I mean, so.
You could have a new Stephen Wonderboy in there.
It's fine with me. I mean, my body's too broken down to get involved in anything. So it's like,
Yeah, keep that brain for podcasting and fathering.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, like you said. Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, it's, I mean, some of these fights, yeah, they're not going to be great. But that's with anything, so everybody's got to keep an open mind about it. It's just fun. Just watch it for the fighters. Forget about the names. I feel like I preface this every podcast. It's like I'm like, watch, damn it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's because there's constant people complaining on the internet, but I think we get a false perception of that because the internet's mainly for complaining. I had this when I looked at my Twitter recently. I'd only been using my Twitter to complain about things and complain to companies, because when something's positive, you think like, oh, okay, that's cool, but you don't usually feel the urge to do something about it because, like, it's fine. If good things are good, that makes you feel complacent. That makes you feel like, okay, cool. Apathy, they call it.
Right.
Whereas, like, if you've got dissatisfaction, you've got anger, and anger is a very motivating instinct. So that's why you go out there and, like, you comment bad things, you say bad things. But whereas the actual situation would probably be, the actual opinions out there would probably be more favourable than you're perceiving by various things. In regards to the saturation, I thought last year they had it really good. I really liked the events. I thought they were all pretty stacked. There weren't many I'd consider like stinkers, to be honest, at all. And even now, even if they're slightly low down, I think all cards at least have something on it that's very worth watching. And when you look into more of the prelims and stuff, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I do remember this guy. This guy was really good. Because in MMA in general, it's really exciting right now. And like you, if it's Saturday night and there's no fights on, I feel weird. It doesn't feel natural anymore. Saturday night is fight night. All these people who sort of say like, oh yeah, you're gonna lose money. People are gonna go off the sport. It's like, well, you don't have to watch all the content. There's going to be hardcore fans that want to watch everything, and there's going to be casual fans who just want to tune in for McGregor. It's fine. Like, tune in as much as you want. But why would you say that the extra content is detrimental at all? The extra availability of it, like baseball, that's available to watch more or less all the time,
Yep.
in various forms. Like football, all the time. You can't get up. People aren't going to say that, oh, you've created another football league over there. That's going to devalue the industry and get it down. It's like, the difference being something like a pay-per-view, though. The difference being, when we're talking about oversaturation, like pay-per-view is the only difference, because that's something that needs to be protected. If you're asking people to spend $60 on it, like, holy fuck, you better make something worth it. Do you think pay-per-view quality has? Because last year, like, do you agree? Like, so it started off with like 185 in 2015 as well. There were really, really good pay-per-views in it when it dipped before. What do you think? Because you're actually someone who pays for them. What do you think of the quality at the moment?
Oh, Nottingham, Robin, the hood. The hood just got taken off.
2 secs. I'll put the flag by. Nottingham shall prevail. I'll show the resilience.
Yes. It's the problem. The problem with the pay-per-views and the problem with mixed martial arts, as far as the sport, is injuries happen too frequently, and it's because of training camps, and it's different than any of your other sports in that aspect. So I think a lot of it's been hurt by injuries. That's probably the number one thing. So, but it is, if you think about it, it's tough though with the layoffs. It's tough to put together 5 fights that are main event worthy on one card. But you could get 2 good fights and 3 halfway decent fights, and that's fine for me. And the one thing is the perception of mixed martial arts. A lot of people think it's like boxing. Sometimes a lot of my friends too, like, it's not very popular. Like, among my social circle, I have some people that are into it and some people that are casual and some people that don't even know anything about it at all. They just hear names, and I'll see them on social media and they'll post, oh yeah, like, you people that got pay-per-view just saw like so-and-so get knocked out in 13 seconds. And I want to be like, no. So I tell him, I said, it's not just one fight. It's not like Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas back in the day where you spent this money, $30-$40, and saw it, first round knockout.
Buster Douglas was 10 rounds. Buster Douglas knocked him out in the 10 rounds.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah,
Leon's,
like
Spinks.
His other fights. Like, was Leon Spinks? Yeah.
Leon Spinks. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. But you know what I mean? Like, but even so, even that Tyson fight, that's one fight that's usually was on pay-per-view. Mixed martial arts, you have a whole night, like the 5 fights, and that's beautiful. And the great thing about UFC cards is boxing. I don't know how many they have on a fight card. It's usually 5 or 6, right, for the total.
Yeah, but all of the others are very rarely promoted.
Right, and the thing I was going to say is they're probably longer rounds, but they're not. The other fights are like less than 12 rounds, I believe. So
10 rounds.
The thing is, though, you're getting 13 fights in a card, sometimes 10, sometimes 11, 12, whatever, but it ranges between 13 and 10 fights, and it's truly an all-day affair. So people were asking me, so I'm amazed. People don't really know the logistics of it, and they say, well, if a fight, if somebody gets knocked out, they just go on to the next fight. I said, no. I said, not in the prelims. I said, they allot that. I said, if it's fight pass prelims, if it's an hour long, they're going to allot it for 2 fights. And that's in case it goes the full amount. That way it syncs up with it. And they're like, what happens if they get knocked out or submitted early? I said, they do fillers. I said, if you're watching it on TV, they'll do, and that's why they have these programmings. Like, it's a preview of the fighter, they do UFC Countdown, or they interview other fighters, or they show highlights. Or they'll use, like, in the case of last fight, if a fight was over early, they would show a prelim event on it. So, but then when it goes to pay-per-view, obviously if the fight ends early, there's no time constraints on a pay-per-view part. If it ends early, they go into the next fight. And then, they may have a little buffer, but I say it's all TV stuff. So people don't understand. Like, they just think, oh, it's done. Like, okay, pay-per-view lasts. Well, no, it doesn't. You have 5 fights on the pay-per-view event. And it's kind of nice. It's really kind of cool to see, and for someone who's been at quite a few events, it can be a little bit exhausting when fights end early and then you wait for the TV, because you have an in-house DJ who's pretty terrible usually, unfortunately. So you listen to that, but they show on the Jumbotron, they'll show like, people, but you could get up, you could have some beers, you get some food, walk around in an arena. I mean, it is a long day, but it's worth every penny. So, but the pay-per-views, some of them can be a little bit watered down, but again, I think there's extenuating circumstances. I mean, how many times have we seen a fight get canceled because of something, or somebody, gets injured? I mean, it happened. It's happened so many times.
What happened to you with Struve, didn't it? 175.
Which one?
When you were at UFC 175 in Vegas, Struve versus Mitrione got cancelled.
And Struve right before. I mean, that was something unprecedented.
How did they let you know in the stadium?
They just they announced it. I think Bruce Buffer actually did. He was at rings. Like usually they'll have some an announcer. If you're at another sporting event, they'll usually have the the announcer in the arena say somebody's been whatever. But Bruce Buffer actually said the fight Stefan Struve has been removed from the fight due to an episode, and then everybody's like, the hell happened? And then you find out, he was okay. He just, fainted. So, but yeah, Bruce Buffer, I do remember it now. Bruce Buffer made a quick announcement. So that's that's rare. Is that the only time? I think that's the only time a fight's been scrapped on the night of.
Oh no, who was the person who got knocked out by falling on a pipe? Was it Kevin Randall then? Kevin Randall, in the early days, somebody slipped on a pipe backstage and got concussed.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay, yep.
Yeah,
I think so.
UFC 22, I think, or something like that. I think it's Kevin Randall.
Wow. Okay.
I can't remember.
All right, that's interesting. I'm gonna look it up too while we're talking. But yeah, it's and that's the thing. That's something on Fight Night. But I'm talking, even stuff leading up to it, somebody's injured, they're going to be out for it, and they seek a replacement, but sometimes they can't. So, I mean, I think that's the biggest issue with it. And I mean, injuries and suspensions and the regulations, and if people want to accept the fights, that's something to do with it too. Mixed martial arts is a different animal. We're going to see this, unfortunately. So, I mean, watered down, yes, but is there really much you could do about it? You can't have every card, a New York City card, where it's, you want to stack it from top to bottom, but even then things happen, so.
I think, the way to fix that is just create a narrative of intrigue around the titles. The problem with a lot of the divisions at the moment is not talent, not top talent even, just the lack of movement in the titles. Obviously, the big bad thing about McGregor is he's held up 2 divisions for a while. And yeah, I mean, you give a lot of credit to people like Ioanni Jacek, Demetrius Johnson, Stipe Miocic, very active champions. So it's an interesting one. I do love me some UFC right now, though. I still am as big a fan of it as ever. It's one of those sports that your love for it does not really dwindle because it's still consistent quality. So many things let me down quite a bit. If you ever foray into becoming a WWE fan, which I did start of last year, I guess, it's you resent it so much. You're like, oh fuck, why do I even watch this? I've never questioned why I watch MMA, ever. Apart from, once UFC 168, Anderson Silva breaks his leg. I did have a moment where I sat there like, fuck.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But yeah, have you found it? UFC. It was UFC 22.
I'm looking. UFC. I'm just looking right now.
I'll Google slipped on a pipe.
I looked up his thing. It didn't say anything, but I could be.
Slipped on a thing for UFC event. Alright. Sorry, listeners. Just getting some Googling on the show. It's like, when you get some kind of half fact here, you have to resolve it.
Slips and hit his head. UFC 24?
Oh, okay. Was it?
He was supposed to go against Pedro Hizo?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Here it is. Yeah, he slipped on a. Yeah, he slipped on a pipe, just as I thought. But yeah, UFC 24 when he was meant to go against Pedro Hizo. Cool. I knew that was in there
Slipped,
somewhere.
hit his head. Yeah, the fight moved to UFC 26.
And the only other times I think they've announced people not coming out before is something like UFC 3, the tournament format, where they announced that Ken Shamrock and Hoist Gracie wouldn't be continuing due to injury.
Right.
Those are the only other times. Cool. Like, yeah, we're hitting coming close to 90 minutes here, so we should probably head off and get back to our normal, regular lives as non-online entities. Just like, random faces on YouTube.
Damn it.
We'll be back soon enough.
Absolutely.
We'll review UFC 208, and there'll be lots of exploits to go for. Well, any quick words on the Ted Cruz Bernie Sanders debate? We've dedicated all this time, 90 minutes, to a fight event on the weekend. So let's have a little bit on the end for healthcare in one of the biggest nations of the world. The future of it.
I need to rewatch the debate. I watched it kind of. I can't, honestly, it was kind of a joke. I mean, Cruz too, like Cruz and Bernie. But every time Bernie Sanders talks, I can't help but see Larry David. He's Larry David. I mean, the dude is Larry David. Larry David.
Oh, you think I should pay for that? That's ridiculous.
He talks like him. He looks like him. It's ridiculous. So I can't take him serious. And Ted Cruz too. I just, it was tough because just the things they were saying, and healthcare has been a big thing. It's in my thing. The one thing I have to say that, and I said this off, it's a big debate, especially with my patients and everything else. As everybody knows, I'm in the legal drug business. People bitch about pharmaceutical companies, rightly so. Their co-pays, this and that. Well, it stems from our healthcare system. Our healthcare system sucks. Do I think Trump has the answers? Maybe. Obama didn't. Honestly, I don't think Trump is either. I think healthcare is a complete anomaly, and it's nothing against Trump. And it's actually nothing against Obama. Obamacare, they had people speak about it and how they help them and stuff like that. I don't know if there's and I just want to preface this, I don't know if there's a right way to do it. My expertise is in the medications. Copays are high for people, regardless, and it's because these drugs are expensive. Ted Cruz defended the pharmaceutical companies, whereas Bernie Sanders kind of admonished them. I agree with both of them to an extent. However, I'm taking Ted Cruz's side on this. I think a lot of people, and I'm not employed by any pharmaceutical companies, and I could see it some other ways because we have in the States we have the epipen controversy, which is epinephrine for anaphylactic shock for people in emergencies, and it's by a company called Mylan, and the CEO, price gouging, all this stuff, where it literally costs for a 2-pack of pens, it costs almost $600 American cash price. A lot of insurance companies don't pay for it. They're high co-pays. Well, there's a new generic that came out that actually my company, I work for a company, CVS Caremark in the States. We actually are in contract with a pharmaceutical company for a generic version of something similar. The only reason the EpiPen, by the way, is that much money is because of the delivery system. It has nothing to do with the drugs. I've seen everybody go crazy over this on the internet. Oh, this is how you could, people are like, oh, just ask your doctor to write a prescription for epinephrine and get a needle. Fuck no, because if you're in an emergency, the last thing you need to do is they come in ampules. You have to fucking break the ampule. Then you have to know what you're doing not to get the glass in the damn thing. You're in an emergency situation. 90% of people that are not trained are going to panic in that situation. So, no, you do not get, and yes, epinephrine is really cheap, but think about it. You're in an emergency. Your kid's choking, can't breathe. Mm-hmm. You have to now pull this out, break the ampule. You have to draw it up with a syringe. Forget about like gloves or anything like that, or sterile to begin with. But you have to draw it up, make sure, and then jab them with it. That's a catastrophe. So people on the internet, don't ask them to do that, for God's sakes. So anyway, this company came out with a generic version, but it wasn't. It was a different one. And CVS, my company, which is so great, actually, I'm very happy about this. This is actually kind of cool. It was $109 without insurance. But the best thing is CVS entered in partnership with this company, and we have a manufacturer coupon that brings it down to $10, which is phenomenal. So anybody that needs that, and we're getting a lot of, and it's been all over the publicity, and it's great for our company because people are calling us and being like, listen, is this true? And I said, yeah. I'm like, give me a prescription, we're done. Pharmaceutical companies, going back to that. The problem is people don't understand for pharmaceutical companies, it costs billions of dollars to get a drug approved. Billions.
Yeah, I thought Ted Cruz was really good at hammering that point.
And that was the one thing. Whereas, and he was kind of attacking the Food and Drug Administration. I was in the Food and Drug Administration for about a month when I was doing my clinical rotations at the end of my education. Pretty cool to kind of be in the governmental thing. However, and I didn't see all the ongoing things about it. And there's rumors about kickbacks with pharmaceutical companies and this and that. And it's politics. It's Washington. You're damn right it's going on. I didn't see any of it, so I'm not saying that's the case, but let's be honest. Let's read between the lines.
Yeah, we can't be naive here.
Yeah, I mean, it's the FDA has been under scrutiny. So the FDA is the one that makes it increasingly difficult. And then what they do the thing is, to recoup money for these pharmaceutical companies, it takes years and years and years of it. So they have to, that's why brand names are expensive, because they hold rights to the patent. And the patent is good from, depending on the drug, 7 to 10 years from the date it gets approved. And then you could add a year if they either develop a new dosage form, a new indication, a new route of administration, things like that. But the problem is to do all this, you have to pay the people that are working for the company. You have to pay the operating costs of the plants, not one plant, the plants. You also have to pay for any of the manufacturing materials, anything that goes into it, not to mention all the studies that are involved. Now, people don't realize you can't just do one study and poof, it works. You have to do hundreds and probably thousands of studies, and you have to get the right people, and it has to be right. And it's, and especially with this day and age of animal rights and animal abuse and everything too, they're very leery of that. So they actually, and the anatomy, while it's similar in certain animals with the human, the only best way to do it is testing on humans. Now, think about all the failed subjects. I mean, there's people that are in there and they go through it, but then there's a weeding out process. So think about all that money that the pharmaceutical company is doing. And I mean, I'm kind of tired of them being labeled as the bad guys. We didn't have these pharmaceutical companies, there wouldn't be these meds. We didn't have these meds, our life expectancy would be back at the 1800s again. So the thing is, the reason they're around, there's regulations. People argue, well, we're going to go across the border to Canada, the drugs are cheaper. I don't have an answer as to why they're cheaper in other countries. I don't know what the regulations are like up there. People saying it's safe and it's legal, that's a gray area. I mean, Canada, okay. You go to some other countries, forget about it. You go to Mexico, you get anything, but it's probably horse piss that you're drinking and not, anything else. So the cost of stuff is ridiculous. It sucks. I see that for people that need it, and I see it. There's people that are in medications that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to keep them alive, and it's an issue that's terrible. But I'm siding with Ted Cruz on this one, where the FDA is more to blame than pharmaceutical companies. I mean,
yeah, I mean, he's consistently been very good at pointing out the ways that government inflates costs. Yep. So Bernie Sanders' methods of introducing more government regulation and getting bigger public sector involvement in the industry is just close to insane. This was very good on the student debt debate as well. Like, anybody who sees it and studies it deeply can show, hey, kitty cat.
Yeah, she makes her appearance, so she's on her.
Say hi to all the punk drunk philosophers out there.
If she wants to. She's. Well, I don't know. She's pissed. She's getting.
No, kitty. Have you got an opinion on the healthcare debate?
What's that?
I was asking the kitty. Opinion on socialized
she doesn't
healthcare.
Care. She's on medication. She's got an overactive thyroid.
Oh, okay.
So we have to give her transdermal gel. It's not bad. It's better than trying to feed her the pill.
Yeah,
so
big time.
We give her, so it's just I mean, literally this much on a syringe, and we just put it on the inside of her ear. So, no injections, no nothing. She's, she actually gained some weight, so I think she's up to like 5.5 pounds now.
Cool.
So she's, yeah. But yeah, it's tough, and I still, I would love to have the magic answer for healthcare.
As would we all.
And that's the other thing too. I think they were talking about. I think Bernie, and I could be wrong because I wasn't paying attention. Bernie was talking about how everybody, deserves. They were talking about Medicaid too, and that's another whole thing. And I remember Bernie was talking about something about everybody should have access to, every doctor and everything. Which, yeah, I agree. But here's the problem with that. You're gonna Speaking of watered down,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to wait in line for shitty healthcare. It's gonna be absolutely like you're gonna go to doctors. It's like a meat market, and you're gonna stand in line. They're gonna say, "What's wrong?" Okay, my eye hurts. Okay, here's a prescription for this without doing tests. I don't want that. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in social. I don't believe in universal healthcare at all. I don't, because of that problem. Some places it works. Unfortunately, in this country of ours, there's too many people. I could see if we were in a smaller country and we had the problem is we don't have enough physicians, and that's the problem, and enough quality physicians. So they were arguing about that too. I need to really go back and look at it. I was kind of half-heartedly, listening to it, and I couldn't stand. Cruz is kind. I don't know. I mean,
I like Cruz.
He's all right. He's fun. I mean, I did like. He's definitely a schmoozer. I mean, the one. You're pregnant. The one pregnant lady I remember. He's like, "Oh, you're pregnant. What's his name or what's her name or whatever?"
That's just nice,
Yeah, because I'm a schmoozer myself, so I can appreciate that. I love the fact that he did that.
It's better than Bernie Sanders berating a woman for not wanting to go out of business.
Yeah. Well,
you remember that woman who asked the question, said, I employ people I can't afford to pay for all their health insurance or I'll go broke.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of other problems with this, too. I mean, the Medicaid system in our, familiar with Medicaid? It's, it's based on, and actually the pregnant female that was
forcing
on there.
Forcing people to get,
Yeah, she
insurance.
Qualified because she was a student, I believe. And the whole thing about it was, Medicaid in our country is awful. It's awful because, like anything, people that know how to take advantage of it will take advantage. I'll give you an example. This is going to be sounding about, you could come to our country from other places. See, I'm more PC than you. And I shouldn't be. You could come from another country. You could apply for welfare. You could have a kid and you get more breaks. You could have another kid and you get even more breaks. So you keep having kids, 6 or 7 of them, and then you get this health care and you get food stamps. And I'm not saying that everybody's like this, but from what I've observed, you see them and they're buying steak and lobster and all this shit with their food stamps. And then the best part, what I see, is people on Medicaid in the States, when they have prescriptions, they have copays, and their copays usually vary from 50 cents, $1, maybe $3. Sometimes they'll be $6. They have the option of voiding their copays. So, kid you not, this happened to me several years ago, where somebody was in the store and they had like 13 prescriptions, and they were like $1.50 or $1. So it came to like close to like $15 maybe total, even less than that. And I remember they wanted us to void all their copays. We can't say no, but at the same time, they were at the drive-thru, smoking cigarettes, which I'm pretty sure they didn't get free, or maybe they stole them, driving in a Lincoln Navigator, which pretty sure those are $50,000-$60,000 vehicles. So that's the problem with the system I have. The fact that you could sit there and you could say, okay, and then you have people that are real hardworking, American-born people, and they're struggling. They, and they're working 2-3 jobs, and they have copays that are $50-$60, and you could tell they're struggling, and they're driving whatever, a beater car, or they can't even afford a car, or they come to a cab, or they walk to the pharmacy or something, and you could just see it. And it's like, and unfortunately, this is the way it is in society. If there's a way, there's going to be people that are going to try to beat the system. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, what I think with Mr. Trump, hopefully, I think he has the right mind, is to kind of, help this out a little bit. Just kind of find a way.
Make it great again.
Yes, and I mean it's tough because there's too many people, take advantage of it, and guess who pays for it?
The American taxpayer. Which, Bernie Sanders has a lot of contempt for the American taxpayers. I love it when he kind of claims credit for something. He said, like, oh yeah, I've increased funding for that. When he's increased funding for everything, his entire platform is literally vote for increased funding on everything ever.
The problem is we increase funding when we're trillions of dollars in debt
You've had this for 8 years of buy more shit. The
problem is we have to stop giving to the too many countries that are in need. That I'm all about humane efforts. I'm a humanist. I'm also an animalist. I love, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I love people and I don't want to see anything happen. However, there's got to be a point where about our own, we're too concerned about the affairs and other people's, and it's fine because we are supposed to be that, the big brother of the world. We're supposed to be the most powerful nation, so to speak. We're supposed to be the police state. And I get it. Help those allies. That's fine. Something, France, that was fine. Any kind of like that. When you start going in the Middle East and everything and there's good people. I also want to say this as a person that's compassionate. There are good people out there. I'm not saying there's not. But we keep giving money to these places that are never going to pay us back.
Behead gays and like...
are never going to pay us back, number one. And number two, we have homeless. Our homeless rate is ridiculous.
Oh, especially for veterans. That's a national travesty.
And the veterans, too. Yes, you fight for our country, and you give us, we're sitting here today. I'm on the internet. I don't have to worry about police state censorship, or I could say whatever I want because of our amendments.
And plus Hillary didn't get in, so.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and we're not, we're the land of the free, and it's like, these people are the reason why we're here. And I mean, shit, I couldn't do it.
Always remember what Ronald Reagan said, like, freedom is only one generation away from extinction, ever. Yeah.
And I'll admit, I'm a pussy. I would be freaking out if I had to have a gun in my hand and go, in some of these places. I mean, my dad served, both my grandfathers served, my great grandfather served. There's a veteran. I know veterans left and right. I don't care if you're on the front lines or if you're in, and yes, some people take advantage of it. There's some people that I know that have taken advantage. They didn't do anything. They didn't leave the States, but yet that's a whole other thing. But for the most part, these people are risking their lives every day. And it's a shame that the monies aren't going towards them. And, and people, it's terrible. It's, it's so sad to see it. And it's just like, of course you have people that I don't want to say deserve to be there. I don't think anybody deserves that life. But at one point they got led down the wrong direction, whether it be drugs or they did something wrong or, I believe there's always second chances for people. And it's just a shame that there's no facilities and I don't know.
I'm hoping that's going to get a lot better in the Obama administration. The stuff they've been talking about in regards to veteran affairs has been very promising. And obviously with Mattis in defense, he's a very kind of loyal military guy. He's very much looking out for his troops, his squad, everybody under his command there. So I see a very good voice for them in the administration. So hopefully that reflects in how they treat veterans. On the healthcare thing again, it was kind of indicative on a lot of things. Bernie Sanders' arguments were consistently moral ones, not efficiency ones. And in the minds of a lot of people, moral will always beat efficiency. Because as long as you say, like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could do this? that's always going to be appealing to people who can't get past the more complex the complexities of someone like Cruz's argument, because that's easy to demonize. You just get Sanders talking about global conglomeration, big pharmaceutical companies, like healthcare premiums going up, and he goes on those rambles like going after the usual demons. It's easy to demonize anybody who makes money in America. Really, it's easy to demonize they have money, they're better than you, bastards. Those companies, bastards, and usually the only press we hear of them is negative, because we take for absolute granted every fucking thing we have in society because of capitalism. We've got phones. You think Apple laptops would exist without the profit motive? No. You think all Skype, all these beautiful things that have been created in the Western world by people looking to make money. All this stuff has been gifted to us by the magic of the profit motive in capitalism. So stifling it in these regards for moral arguments, for your kind of arrogant, centric sense of morals, is bollocks. And the way he treated that small business owner really bothered me, because he was so dismissive of her, so attacking her. This person is, when he says he's going after the 1%, when he says I'm going after the 1%, the billionaires are the billionaires, he's talking about women like that, the wealth creators in America, the people who are employing people, the people who are creating businesses, who are creating products, who are innovating at every stage. Those kind of policies strangle that. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the Trump administration. And because I think America, so much of what made it great in the first place is that capitalist spirit. When I went around, I was so impressed with how much pride a lot of Americans have in their work. You go to a workplace, most people here, if they work anywhere, they don't give a fuck. They're sitting there, they're miserable, they're like, I want to end this day. But so many people in America take so much pride in where they work, and if you go to a small ice cream store or something, they'll still be really generous. They'll treat a customer as something important. Those kind of ethics, I thought, what makes America really fucking good. And the healthcare, obviously, it's a very, very, very difficult issue, but the debate was very good at representing the arguments for socialized healthcare and, giving it more over to the private sector. I'd say most people found Cruz convincing, though. Most people. Would you agree? Have you seen much of the response of what other people think around it?
I haven't. I'll be honest with you. It's something that I need to kind of go over and everything. I didn't even know there was this is how not into politics I am, or how much I was
Sorry
crazy.
for dragging you into it.
My world's been kind of a little bit crazy with the baby coming and with work. And when I'm at work, I don't know what the hell's going on in the outside world. So I came home and I saw it was on. So we threw it on, and my wife and I were watching it for a little while and just kind of, half-heartedly kind of looking at it a little bit. So it's something I need to, especially with healthcare, it's something that, affects me. So it's something I need to kind of look at and take a look. But
yeah, it's a subject that you really need to really respect the complexity of, because there's so many different factors, so many different arguments, so many facets of it. Bernie Sanders kept going to the European healthcare system as well. I mean, for the record, there's no European healthcare system. Individual nations have their own ones, but they're generally nationalized systems. Apart from Holland, that's got a different system. But he idealizes it so much. From a lot of American leftists, they romanticize European nations so much, and it's like, have you ever been there? It's kind of shit. There's a lot of inefficiencies. British people are so ridiculous about our NHS. They're like, "Ooh, our NHS! They'll never take our NHS." Ooh. They treat their staff like shit. Every NHS doctor I know wants to kill themselves, and that's not an exaggeration. They are worked horrifically badly. Junior doctors especially. It's wildly inefficient. The care's crap. The A&E's rammed. Nobody gets surgery. We have record people dying of preventable diseases. It's fucking stupid, and we're just pouring endless money into it. To this black hole of finances. Like it or not, healthcare is a service. Healthcare is a commodity. How do you grow that? You have competition for staff. You have staff have competitive job market. They say they've not just got one person to work for. And I can go and work for this company. I can go work for this hospital and specialize in this, and they all compete for the most talented staff. Rather than you work here, you make this wage. do what you want, like work for us like 7 days a week, and blah, blah, blah. It's horrible conditions in the NHS for staff. Um, but yeah, some people here, especially, they'll be so hostile to someone like Ted Cruz. Uh, even though it's such an efficiency argument and it's a really compelling one, they still will completely be dismissal of the fact, regardless, because of that kind of cultural ingrained nostalgia and love for the NHS and socialised healthcare that we have here.
Right.
Bit weird. Anyways, we've gone over our prescribed 90 minutes, but fuck it. It was a good show.
Absolutely.
Good show, good sir. Everybody enjoy UFC 208 this weekend if you're watching. If not, why not? It's a good fight night.
Right.
And anything else you want to say to the wonderful people at this corner of the internet?
No, just keep tuning in. We're going to be weekly. So, bringing you everything UFC. So, we're going to preview, review, and, gloat or be disappointed in our predictions. So.
Alrighty. Well, peace out, internet people. You have a great week.